Qadir is the founder and lead instructor of Citizens Safety Academy. His background as a firearms instructor started at the age of 12, teaching urban youth in his father's gun club. He followed in his father's footsteps, becoming an NRA certified instructor at the age of 22, and he's been training civilians for over 30 years and training law enforcement for over 25. His passion is teaching regular people how to keep themselves and their families safe. So let's bring Aqil on. Hey, how
Hey,
you doing, Aqil?
excellent. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Well, you said before the show I could call you Ak. So I'm going to see maybe if I can let that catch on. I'll call you Ak instead of Akil because your name is hard to pronounce and I think I butchered it more than once.
You actually did quite well with it. But yeah, I answer the Ock because that's what most people call me. So, and I've been doing that since
Okay.
I was a kid. So, and believe it or not, I'm junior.
Junior.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It was
That's
I'm
cool.
little Akil. Yeah, my dad is big
Little.
Akil. Yeah, go figure.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, yeah, I'm interested to learn about that. You said that you worked with your dad when you were young, and so tell us about how you worked with him, and then how that's led into the career you have today. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. My dad, when he came back from Vietnam, he got a job in the factories like everybody else in Buffalo. And then there was a point where he started doing some, he became like a part time cop, like a reserve police officer. But he was always a weapons guy. And his dad was a police officer. So it was kind of a, family business type thing.
Mhm.
And it was funny. He was, finding it hard to be a gun guy in Western New York where we're from. And something happened with the 22 caliber killer. It was a guy named Joseph Christopher who was going around shooting people in upstate and downstate New York. And some people in the community asked my dad to start a gun club to start training people. And he did in 1980. And that gun club's still in existence to today. And it's one of the older urban gun clubs in America. He also, on the side, taught police officers who would qualify. They would come to him and he would help them qualify so that they could keep their jobs. And so when I got on the department in 92, a lot of guys knew who I was. And, they say, somebody says my name correctly in the hallway. I'm like, they know me. And it's like, because my dad had helped a lot of guys. It's like, yeah, your dad did me a solid. So I wanted to continue that tradition. And so as soon as I got off of probation, I went back to the police academy and started apprenticing with them like I had been doing with my dad, because he also did permit classes. And so it just went from there, and I've been at it ever since.
That's so cool. I kind of wish I would have had you and your dad on together. That'd be kind of cool.
I have to talk to him about it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he might be interested. So,
Yeah.
but he's got a really cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially in that area where it's, the gun culture there it's very different.
Yeah.
I took Tiff back there one time, just so my partner, Tiffany Johnson, I took her back there one time to teach a class, and like, she couldn't believe it, like it's
Really.
just the difference in culture. Yeah. And how the culture makes it harder for people to even consider what we do, where it's so far outside of their realm of even, if they don't even have a parking spot in their head for the type of things that we do.
And
And
why is that? Like they just like what is their general perception of gun culture?
that it's, first of all, it's not an urban thing. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely not an
Oh,
African American thing. But on top of that, even, generally speaking, I mean, people just hope the cops come on time. And there's not a
mm,
lot of. It took a year and a half to get a permit, and because of the Sullivan law
wow.
in New York State, you can't touch a handgun until you have a permit. And so, people really don't even have that in their mind. Like, like a lot of people grow up shooting or doing some type of something involving firearms or hunting or something with their families. you know
Mhm.
not in urban Western New York, not at all. In some of the
Wow.
outlying areas it's a little better, but generally speaking, I mean, when you place those things out of people's reach, they don't consider it anymore.
Mhm. So when they do come and reach out to you, what does that look like? I mean, how do they first of all hear about it, and then when they do come, I imagine they're super hesitant, or what is their like frame of mind?
Yeah, there's a lot of apprehension, a lot of hesitation, a lot of myths and stereotypes that they have in their head about guns and gun culture. And
Mhm.
so there's a lot of emotional and psychological hurdles that you have to overcome with those people in the process. Takes a take quite a long time, and they're starting from, not just, okay, I haven't touched a gun or shot a gun in a long time, but I'm afraid to touch this thing. This thing is scary to me.
Mhm.
Only cops and bad guys have them, and this is not
Mhm.
for me to deal with. And the only thing that I know about them is that bad things happen when you deal with them. And so, it
Right.
actually prepared me for what I do now.
Mhm.
So which is trying to bring more people who are not part of traditional gun culture, but they call what David Yamane calls gun culture 2.0, bringing those people over into the gun culture is where I've actually had a lot of reps doing that, because that's what I've been doing, trying to convince that the people with that mindset since I was young.
Yeah, you've had so much practice. So then tell us then, because I mean, with the experience that you have, I imagine you're really good at building that bridge. So could you speak to that? What does that look like from an instructor standpoint? And gosh, I wish I had some. I always think of the good ideas after the fact. Wouldn't it be cool to have one or two of your students, right, that have come in to your organization and what their journey has been? Maybe you can talk about one or two of your students that have had quite an exceptional journey that went from point A to point Z, and it was just like a, huge difference from where they started.
A good story is Tiff's. I mean, if you've watched her story, that's quite typical. Atypical in a way. Tiff happened to walk in the range master and get a permit class from Tom Givens.
Yeah.
So yeah, which brings the point that the important point about it is what we teach here is something Kathy Jackson told me a long time ago, which was and I want to thank her again for changing my life when she said it, was that the best instructors should teach the new people. And that's what Tiff got when she walked into Range Master. And so that's what we try to do here, is because we try to meet people where they are. And a lot of times it
Mhm.
takes gun people like us who've been around them and who are now comfortable around them to remind ourselves that guns are scary, guns are dangerous. I mean, anything you have
Mhm.
to have 4 rules or 4 principles to even handle and keep those in mind is by definition what a dangerous tool, a dangerous object. And so keep
Mhm.
those things in mind and realize that, just think about what it takes to stand on a line next to a bunch of people with guns and assume that none of them are going to turn around and shoot you with it.
Mhm.
We make those assumptions because we're used to it, and we're in the industry, we're in the culture. They
Yeah.
don't. I mean, just think what it takes to say, okay, you're going to go stand in a line with a whole bunch of strangers and do something that's absolutely terrifying. And so when you
Yeah,
put
and
yourself in that mindset, now you have to start thinking, okay, how do I talk to somebody like that? You know what I'm saying? How do I
mhm.
make myself less intimidating? That's part of it. You know what I'm saying? How do I
Mhm.
approach them in a less intimidating manner? We're very, very nice. You know what I'm saying? We're very welcoming. We like to say, as opposed to meeting them halfway, we do the extra 10 to 15%. So we're meeting them at 60 and 65%. We're patient, takes a lot of patience. And certain tools and certain ways of dealing, and we like to make sure that we're approachable and that that they can relate to us, because if they can't relate to you, then you give them the option to say to themselves, okay, well, I'll never be like you. And it goes all the way
Mhm.
down to how we dress, how we present ourselves. How I dress, for example, to a class of newbies is very different than how I may dress when I'm dealing with a class of law enforcement officers that I'm about to teach. That's a different Aqil, that's a different approach. Some of it is, believe it or not, is the same, because you got people coming
Mhm.
into law enforcement who aren't gun people, what I'm saying? So there is
Mhm.
still some use for that. But I want them to look at me and go, hey, he looks like me. As opposed to talking about my long resume, for example, in the beginning class, or
Mhm.
talking to these people, what am I saying? I'm a granddad. I've got now 4 grandkids, I've got kids, and reminds me of something my dad once said. He said the biggest compliment he ever got from people was, "I didn't know you carried a gun."
Yeah.
Which harkens to something me and you discussed when you said you know how you look. You don't look like
Yeah.
and that has its uses, especially when you're dealing with people who might be, like I said, who have psychological, cultural, and as well as emotional hurdles that they have to overcome to become part of our wonderful culture.
Yeah, absolutely. So
because
you
they don't
said that
know.
some well, they don't know what they don't know, and we don't know what we don't know. I'm learning that, man. That's like one of the biggest growth curves ever. You
Right.
think you know, but you don't know. And there's always more to learn. And that's what I love about it, right?
And
But
guns have a PR problem. That's the truth. You know what I mean? I mean, if you look at how they're, right before I got on this just a little while ago, I like watching documentaries, and I'm watching a documentary about the Juarez cartel and what's going on in Phoenix. And if you sit here and watch this type of stuff, if you're not me, who knows the other side to some extent, I mean, I can understand why somebody who that's what they've been listening to their whole life would be terrified.
yeah, it makes sense. Totally. Yeah, and you had a story too about your friend Gabe White that was brought up in our conversation as well. And I'm curious to know how you guys became really good friends. And describe Gabe for those that don't know who Gabe White is, right? Let go. I want you to describe him first and then tell your story about him because I thought that was remarkable. And really what I would call this is an example of what we would call a true defender. Somebody whose first tool is this, right? So, yeah,
Yeah.
take it away.
When you meet Gabe, if you look at him, you think he was a skateboarder or something. I mean, he
Yeah.
looks. I mean, he wears his suede Pumas, his khakis, and he wears the same kind of shirts all the time. And he's very, unremarkable in appearance in that way. With the glasses and everything. Like I said, you think he was like a hacky sack guy or something. Um, yeah, that that's how he looks, and he's one of the most phenomenal defensive shooters that I've ever seen and met in my life. And I took his class a couple years ago, and when I arrived, I'm into something called house music. I'm a house music head, so I'm bouncing into my car as I pull up, and Gabe's out in the parking lot parking cars, right, at his own class. That's the type of guy he is, right? So he's out parking cars. Yeah, so I park my car. I get out. He said, "Hey, Aqil, what's that music you listening to?" I said, house. He's like, "You like house music?" I'm like, "Yeah." So we ended up sharing music and talking about it, and we became friends, really good friends. So I mean, we hang out all the time during TACCON. He stays with me, and even when he comes to town, he stays with me, and he's literally one of the few friends, really good friends I have in the industry. And not too long ago, we were talking. He was here last October, and he said we were talking. He said, I killed something very scary happened to me. And I said, what? He said he was near his house. I hope he doesn't mind me sharing it, but he was near his house, and he went to drop some garbage off, and there was like some person hanging around there. And at some point, the guy kind of charged at him. He thinks that he was shutting the door. The guy would start coming to grab the door, but he didn't know at the time what the guy was doing. And the guy looked like he had something in his hand. And here, this is a guy who can do a failure drill, two to the chest, one to the head in 1.5 seconds. I had the timer in my hand when he did it. Right?
That's
And
so
you know what the
cool.
guy did? Gabe did? He ran. And I told him afterward, I said, I said, if you ever weren't my hero at this point, you're my hero. And
Yeah.
I said, because that's exactly how you would handle that situation, the better way, as opposed to, what a lot of guys would have done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They would have drawn or something like that. And instead, a guy with all of that talent and that ability and all the hard work that he's put into his craft chose
Mhm.
to take the option of running away. And I was very proud of him and very proud to know him at that point.
That's a good story. I love that. So let's go into the Gateway Instruction Program. I know that's a huge part of what you guys do at Citizens Safety Academy. And so for those that don't understand what that even means, could you give a background of that, what that is? And then let's deep dive into that just a little bit more.
Okay, so what gateway instruction is create an on ramp for people to become a part of the gun culture. We don't want them to just visit. We don't want them to hang out on around the edges. We want them to be like us, people who love this thing, who are deep into this thing, and who take their to varying degrees, and who take their personal protection and personal safety um, very seriously. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Enough to want to do something and do the things that we do about it. But we find that there are often barriers to that. Like I said, cultural, psychological, emotional barriers. People have been through rough things with guns. I mean, Tiff told you when she went to what range master, it was because somebody that she loved very dearly. I mean, she's from Memphis. Somebody she had loved very dearly was shot. You know what I'm saying? Was killed with a firearm. And so she wanted to make a very good explanation against that. And she actually
Mhm.
went to the right place at the right time. And now we have her as a part our culture. And so we want to keep replicating that as much as we can. And so what gateway instruction is that, again, it starts with taking people who are realizing that this is a little different. Actually, the funny thing is gateway instruction is the largest part of the gun industry, the gun instruction industry, if you think about it. And it's often the most neglected, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of instructors, and I understand why, they leave it to, it's kind of like if you go to college, you know, sometimes you get a professor, sometimes you get the professor's assistant, you know what I'm saying? And he may barely speak English and things like that, you know what I'm saying? And so unfortunately, we get these situations where some of the, the gateway instruction is often left to some of the worst instructors in an organization, or the new instructors or something like that. And so we think that it's too important, and that especially in light of what could possibly happen with the Second Amendment and trying to preserve it, is that we need to bring more and more people and to make them realize that gun ownership and training and all that type of stuff is very normal activities. And so what gateway instruction is an attempt to make those things work a little better. And so what me and Tiff like to do is go around and remind instructors, basically, some of us have, like me, I don't know what it's like to not have been around guns. But most people didn't grow up like I did, especially where I'm from. And so the goal is to remind guys what it was like when they were new, or let them know, like guys like me, what it's like to be new, you know what I'm saying? And what it's like to actually be afraid, you know what I'm saying? To be apprehensive, to not want to change your life, all around, and not have to wear plaid shirts and and 5'11" pants, and what I'm saying, carry a knife and a flashlight and a tourniquet in your back pocket. I mean, that to explain to people to, in a way that makes them comfortable here and that makes them want to stay and take a place in it and actually make this culture even better.
Absolutely. Hey, Adam.
Hey, so good to see you here. Hey, I got a question for you, right? You have a background that I just admire, right? You're the guy I want to grow up to be someday, right? You spent a lot of time in the law enforcement world. I'd like if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your background, because I had the honor of spending a dinner with you and Tiff last year at the A Girl and the Gun Conference, and I'm hoping I'll see you there this time here next week.
Sir. Next weekend I'll be there.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to spending time with you. But what I'm looking for was, you're a fighter, right? I enjoy a good fight too. And you've done a lot of stuff in the cop world that I think is so interesting. And really, it kind of tells people who you are. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your cop background?
Oh, sure. Well, when I didn't really want to be a police officer, but there wasn't a whole lot of jobs in Buffalo at the time. And it was kind of like my dad was like, well, you didn't take college serious, so now you got to do the family business. So I went down, I took the civil service exam. I got called up, went on in 1992. And when I got on, crack had hit Buffalo pretty hard.
Right.
It was during the crack wars. And there was a guy named Sly Green who had just went to jail. And he had kind of consolidated drug trade on the east side of Buffalo. And so when he went away, the feds snatched him up. And when he went away, there was a war literally for the territory. And so my precinct, our precinct was one of the smaller ones in the city. And Buffalo's only on 40 square miles, but it's, it goes up high. And there was, at that time, I think it might have been 500,000 people in Buffalo, but we had 40 homicides in my precinct that year, Wow. And so it was crazy. I mean, we were doing 40 calls a night, stuff like that, and so by a year in, I was well seasoned, and learned, some pretty hard lessons, and also learned that biggest tool that I had as a police officer was this thing right here, that if I used it properly, then things worked out. At first came out swinging knuckles because I'm a rookie and, and all that. But then after a while you go, can't fight everybody, actually doing some really good police work. And so that kind of, while I was doing it, I was also going out to the Erie County training center where we trained. The county ran the training center for us. The police academy, and I would go out there and help out there. And so it helped to learn how to become a firearms instructor. And so for the first year and a half, because of the way things were there, you didn't talk to anybody. I think it was like I just hung targets, got coffee, sweat brass, and just watched, for a long time, which was cool. And that's now when I approach training, I approach it from an apprenticeship standpoint. I think that's how it should be. Unfortunately, we don't get that now. Everybody wants to just push the big red button and be a firearms instructor. But I was fortunate that I went through that. So I got 2 trials by fire. I really did, and growing up in, I didn't grow up in the best neighborhood either. So, it was a lot going on for me. You know, and what I learned, actually, what happened was I ended up having to actually use my gun off duty in the neighborhood I grew up in, right?
Yep.
So,
I know that one.
right,
Yes.
right. And then the second time it happened, I said, you know what, I need to get better, right? And that's when I went away to Tactical Defense Institute in East Bethany, Ohio, with John Benner and those guys down there, and they completely broke me down and rebuilt me as and I thought I was hot stuff. I was one of the better shots in the Buffalo Police Department, but when I got down there, I really with a gun, and I was like, well, I got to get much better. And John Benner was a wonderful guy, and he was nice enough to let me come down there and even like adjunct instruct a few times. And I just once again just sat back and took notes. But we did a lot of crazy calls, a lot of stuff. That was the thing that really galvanized me on really helping people defend themselves, because Buffalo is only on 40 square miles. My precinct might have been, I don't know, 40 square blocks, if that. And we always got there after it was over.
Yeah. All the time.
And crime scene tape. I mean, I think I stopped 2 rapes in progress. You know what I'm saying? And when I mean they were in progress, you know, so, you know, we when we got there, the deed had been done. And I realized then really that people's, we are reactive. Police departments, police officers are reactive. We get a call, we get there as fast as we can, but usually it's still too late. You know.
So you touched on a couple things I think are very important for people to hear, right? One, when somebody like Aqil says, okay, I spent a year or so with Buffalo, and within a short amount of time, I was kind of a veteran. Understand, police departments are not the same. A very, very busy police department like Buffalo, you get more in 1 year there than you would in 10 or 15 years in a very smaller agency, even half the size. So within a 1 year, you become extremely veteran, as I would say it, on seeing what crime does to humans. So Aqil here, as we talk to him, understand you're talking to a beast of a human being who has dealt with some of the worst stuff out there and truly understands violence, which is kind of the mission of defenders, right? Furthermore, as you're hearing him talk about that, we show up after the fact. Aqil, I don't know about you, but I was only there at the commission of the crime 5 or 6 times in my entire 10-year career, right? It's always, I come afterwards to take the report, and I figure you're kind of the same way, which really to me tells me that our audience, the people we're trying to reach, you are your own defender.
You are.
Right? You are the one that's got to save you. The cops are there to take a report and then testify to help you in court if you need to be helped in court, or to hurt you in court if you need to be hurt in court. But at the same time, if you're not there to defend yourself, even though there's stud muffins like Aqil out there who do this, they're not going to be there when the time comes. So therefore, it's important to do it. And what I think, Aqil, for you, the beauty thing that I found was the same way. We're walking the same path, that we're trying to empower other people to be their own defender, so the cops don't have to come write their report. Yes. And I just think that's so important that people hear that.
It's extremely important. And like I said, we got there. Our response time was darn quick, but it still didn't matter. And I mean, I remember one time being at one shooting and looking down the street and seeing the muzzle flash from another gunfight down the street. Literally. Jeez. I mean, and I say that to say is that, you know, here we are down the street, you know what I'm saying? And I couldn't be down there to save that guy who got shot, even though I watched it happen, you know? And so, yes, please, you are, Supreme Court has so much as said it in several cases, you know, you literally are your own first responder. I mean, everybody else is a second responder. I mean, we should, you know, like you said, fire extinguishers so that we can control the fire until the guys who really do that get there. We know a little CPR, first aid, so that we can do what, you know, if our nephew's choking on a Jolly Rancher, we can do something, you know, until the professionals get there. And what, you know, firearm is what, so that you can control that situation and protect yourself and your family until the guys get there. So I can't stress that enough. Adam's 100% correct on that.
And Laura, I don't mean to hijack your show. There's one other thing
no,
you said.
You're good.
I think that is so important, right? Aqil said, okay, he's had to kind of do that twice himself, right? Understand, this is you having to be in a defensive situation where you might have to pull a gun and use a gun is really a higher likelihood of getting hit by lightning than you having to pull a gun. Yet this is a man who's been there twice. Now, that's not including, and Aqil, you live, if not the same lifestyle, but more violent lifestyle than I have. You've been in a million different fights, whether it's the bar fight, just throwing fists, whatever else, right? So this is a man who's probably been struck by lightning twice. right, understands violence well, has engaged in it often. So therefore, for those of you listening, if you can take the time to just open your hearts to what this guy has to say, it's so important to hear what he has to say.
Thanks, Adam. He's 100% correct. I mean, I've seen enough to know, and this is why I came home and, I love my family, and so I said, you guys got to know something about this. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't be there for all of you. I'm gonna do the best that I can, but you pick when you have one, and you pick when you care. Like my mentor Tom's likes to say, but somebody else picks when you need it. And you don't want to be behind the curve on that. You really don't.
Laura, I'll bow out from here, brother. It's good to see you.
Well, how do you follow that, really? I mean, I really like that because Adam's really good at reminding all of us why we're really here, right? I mean, the big picture context of what we're doing here is always something that should be in the forefront of our mind. And we are talking about gateway instruction, how important it is to foster that learning early on, bringing people in that may be hesitant or have fears. And I see that a lot with my new shooters as well. And so, I was just wondering if you have any specific, I guess, tips, for lack of a better word, for people out there that are on the same kind of mission that we are. How can we keep that fresh outlook, like we talked about, so that we can most help those new shooters, and also be humble enough to try to remember what it was like. And for me, that's pretty easy because that was only 6 years ago for me, what it's like to be that new shooter coming into that class. I feel like I have an advantage because of that. I still remember that pretty vividly. But honestly, though, I feel so bad sometimes for some of the situations that I've seen where those new people come in and they almost just want to leave class in the middle of it because they're not getting the attention they need. They're not getting the instruction they need. They're being talked down to,
Yes.
and they're not able to keep up emotionally. And so they just shut down, and they just kind of, you can see it on them too. And it just hurts my heart to see that. So what can we do you think, to help?
First things, there's some general guidelines me and Tiff like to give people. One of them is, again, try to remember what it was like, and if you can't, please take into consideration that this person may have signed up for your class and backed out, or had to think about getting in your class, had to overcome huge obstacles to even sign up for the class.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I had one lady come to me one time, one of my classes, and she said, I've signed up for this thing 6 times and didn't show. You know what I'm saying? Because she got scared every single time, Now I can sit back and look down on her, and go, oh, you got to get better, and what's wrong with you. Don't you know that somebody's going to get killed in the streets and all that? Or what I can do is meet her where she is and become more of a partner with her in this,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what we do is, again, we watch how we approach, and we get, a lot of times guys get a little upset with us because they go, well, if I got to take people's feelings into consideration, I go, well, no, in beginners classes, it's all about the feels. And Adam will tell you this too, even in law
It's all
enforcement,
about the feels. Is that what you
it's all
said? I love that.
about the
It's all
feels.
about the
It
feels.
really is.
That's a quote
All
right
about-
there. Yes.
People won't remember what you said. They won't remember what you did, adult learning theory 6 months later, but they will remember how you made them feel.
That
And
is
at
a
first class,
fact.
that's what it is. We want to set the hook to bring them back. We want to make sure that they have a nice dopamine, they feel more relaxed, more comfortable. That's more important because we all know that they're not going to become a, competent, proficient self-defender in one class. So what do we have to do? We have to do it in a way that makes them come back for more, And so we want to make them feel welcome. We want to make them feel comfortable. And like I said, guys get on us all the time. Well, if I got to talk about the feelings and all this, and I say, well, I do law enforcement ranges too. And guess what I have to do before those? Everybody relax. Guys, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Heck, when I'm taking Gabe White's class, and everybody in that class can freaking shoot. The guys who often make turbo pin or don't are the ones who got some type of emotional control. So even at our level, we know, I know what I need to do to hit the target. What prevents me from doing it sometimes? How I feel. And so I want guys to remember that and take it back to that. And, leave your politics out of the classroom. You know what I'm saying? Make your classroom as welcoming as you can. I get guys go all the time to me, well, okay, I need more Black people in my class. I need more of this in my class. I go, what does your marketing look like? You know, do you have all kinds of people in there? Do you make all kinds of people feel welcome? Have somebody that you don't agree with politically come into your classroom, come to your class and ask them literally how they felt about it. Don't get your friends and people who think like you. Get people who don't think like you. We all got family members who aren't gun people, who may have different political beliefs than we do, or different political stances than we do. Have them come and ask them, audit my place. What can I do better here? You know what I'm saying? Try to teach those people to reach out to those people and ask those people, what can I do that will make you consider this, make you think about this, make you maybe try this out, or just, come and check it out. Let them know that any point they're not comfortable, they can leave and they don't have to do it. I've had people tell them, hey, the minute you don't want a gun in your hand, you don't have to have one. If you don't feel like going to the range, you don't have to have one. After our first shot, we have, and everybody should have one cartridge in the gun for the first shot. You know what I'm saying? And then the first thing I ask everybody, we get the guns out of hands and I go, how do you feel? How do you feel? And not just in some way that's insignificant, but really, and look at them. Little things like John Farnham taught me, never wear dark glasses when you're doing new students, especially with students. They need to see your eyes.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
You know what I'm
saying? That's always bugged me.
Look, they have to see your eyes so they can make that connection with you, because they are trusting you with their life.
Yeah.
Think about it. They really are. So we do little things like, hey, we go through our safety briefing and it's like, and then I can see them tense up because they're thinking about it again. I go, hey, I've been at this since the 80s. I haven't had any problems and we're not going to start today. I'm good at this. Everybody's going home with the same amount of holes they arrive with. Don't worry about it. And they have to learn to trust you, and they'll develop a rapport with you based on how you react to them. And one thing you never want to do is demean people, make people feel stupid, make people, never assume what they know. Me and Tiff often tell a story of a lady who was looking at who looked at one of our posters on the board of a SIG from the side, profile of a 6-hour pistol. And she was trying to understand sight alignment, and she's looking at the poster and says, how do you line those up? If they're, and me and Tiff had never thought that, we have to actually tell people this perspective is from behind the gun. Why? Because we assume that you know that, and never assume what people know ever, and then find, weed out a lot of the symbol words that we use and industry jargon that we all use and all those type of things. Find very simple ways to explain that, you know what I'm saying? And so that regular people use regular language, because the more you use jargon and things like that, it gives people an opportunity to say, okay, I'll never be like that. I'll never understand.
Yeah. And those people generally, some of them will, but some of them won't ask you what those things mean. They'll just feel ashamed they don't know, or they don't want to be the dumb person in class. They won't ask you, and then you'll move on and you'll be building on to whatever it is you're talking about, but you lost them back here and you don't even know it. You should know it, because if you're really paying attention to your students, they will tell you by the look on their face.
Body language,
which means their body language is everything.
Yes. And hopefully you got good AIs, and that's what we teach our AI thing, is that your AIs shouldn't just be hanging around chewing the fat. They should be actually watching the students, see who's leaning because they can't hear, see who's nervous, see who's apprehensive, and you literally get an opportunity to change people's lives. There are people out there. I was not too long walking in the mall, and some lady literally jumped in my lap, and and looking at me like, I'm like, who's that? And I'm like, then I realized she's a student, you know what I'm saying? And who knows what emotional hill she had to get up to do that, and how she had been afraid of this thing for so long in her life. And I took most of the fear away from it. And so I hadn't even read, you and I know you can't remember all of the students. You may remember some of the faces, but if you do thousands of them, it's like, And so, after that, I kind of picked up and remember who she was. And I was like, this is why I do what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And those moments are, so priceless, not just for the student, but for you as a teacher. Exactly. Hey guys, we're getting towards the end. I don't know how this has happened, but we're getting towards the end of the interview. So if you have questions for Aq that you would like to ask him, please drop those in the comments now. We're going to chat for just a little bit longer, but not very much. And then we're going to go to the live Q&A. So go ahead, be thinking of those questions, get those dropped in the chat. So, let me see here what else I have. I think I had one more thing here. Oh, but before we get to the Q&A, we absolutely must talk about anything that you're going to what you guys are going to be at the conference next week, the A Girl and a Gun National Conference in Grand Junction, Colorado. Where else are you usually at throughout the year? Where can people find you, and what classes are you going to be offering, et cetera, et cetera?
We primarily do gateway instruction and gateway instructors. I'm teaching gateway instructor, developing gateway instructors. That's what Tiff and I do. That we do most of the stuff in Middle Tennessee because that's where I am. I'm in the Nashville area, and that's where we do most of our stuff. But we do have a traveling road show. We just got back from the tactical conference last week, which this year sold out in 12 hours. Crazy.
I heard that.
I've got a girl and a gun next weekend. Tiff can't make it because she has some surgery that she had to do with her, and so she can't make it. But she's usually there with me every year. So me and Howie, we're going to teach it. Howie Marbury are going to teach at the Girl and Gun Conference. My mentor, Tom Givens, I'm a range master instructor. I'm actually staff, and my mentor, Tom Givens, allowed me to teach his combative pistol class, which is one that I wish he did more. And I think it's a good run up to his instructor development class. But he doesn't have as much time to teach it. He's focusing more on the instructor development side. So he licensed me, say, hey, Aqil, can you teach that class for me? And I've done one here, and we had a ball. I've got those scheduled kind of all over the country. I've got them in Cincinnati. I've got them in Texas. I got them here and there. They're all on the website, citizensafety.com. You can see our calendar there. We do NRA instructor because me and Tiff said that there's a lot of NRA instructors out there, and a lot of times they get a bad rap. And so we said we could sit back and complain about them, or we could do something about it. So we both went back to TC school, and we offer our version, which is the NRA instructor class, but with a bent towards teaching newbies, which is what that class is generally used for. So we got all kinds of stuff popping. I think actually we're doing our gateway instructor class in Texas and in Florida too. So we'll be moving around a bit.
You guys are all over the place. That's awesome. So before we get to the Q&A, I got to ask you, when we were on the phone the other day, you were talking about how Tiffany is such an integral part of Rangemaster. And you said that Tom was the brain, Lynn was I forget what the three things were, but that Tiffany was the motor. I'd really like you to speak on that, because there are a lot of people involved usually in a good organization that's putting on really good classes, that are doing the types of work that you're doing. And we all have different roles to play in that. And sometimes we switch roles back and forth. But let's speak to that just a little bit, because sometimes the people behind the scenes are just as much, if not more important than the people that are front and center.
Yes, the best stuff is always team. I'm a big believer in team and in groups moving. I'm a person who believes if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with a team. And the Rangemaster team, I'm proud to be a part of. And what I said is Tom is the brain, which he is. He's a genius, he is. Lynn is the heart, which she is.
Yeah.
And God bless her. She softens Tom and everybody. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman and like a mother figure to me. And then I said, Tiff's the motor. You know what I'm saying? Tiff's the new blood in the background. She's the squirrel in the back running on the wheel, helping to keep things going. And so me, and there is a quiet team of people, I'm one of them, who behind the scenes, we work hard only because we love what we're doing and we love what we're a part of and we believe in it. And when you're a part of something like that, as I don't have to tell you, Laura, there's absolutely nothing like it, And Rangemaster I'm extremely proud to be a part of it. I think, my mentor's been doing great work for a very long time. And I'm finally glad that more and more people are now being exposed to the good stuff that he's got to give.
Yeah.
Oh, Adam's back.
Hey, Adam.
Cool.
I know he's back.
Hey, Aq,
Dun, dun, dun.
You're a nationally recognized trainer, right? People should be coming to you, and of course to Rangemaster, but also Citizen Safety Academy to learn from you. How do you impart your wisdom, your skill into others? And what do you look for when you're looking for the very best of instructors? What kind of what are their heart? What are their personality? What are you looking for those who truly want to become the best at what they do when they come to you?
I'm looking for people. It's something Craig Douglas said. It's a concept that I had in my mind, but when he said it, somebody will say something, you go, "That's what I was thinking," And what he said is, "Do you want to do something, or do you want to be somebody, or do you want to be something?" I don't want to misquote him. It's like, "Do you want to do something? Do you want to be something?" And what I'm looking for are people who they love doing this because they love this calling almost. Those are the guys I'm looking for. One thing I remember read the quote a long time ago by Mike Tyson, and they said Mike Tyson is a fighter. He would fight in an arena for millions of dollars. He'll fight in the parking lot for nothing because that's what he does.
Yeah.
And it's really all the same to him to some extent. You know what I mean? I would do this for absolutely nothing. You know what I'm saying? If somebody would say, "Hey, Aqil, I'm going to pay your bills and this and that and the other, and all I want you to do all day long is do this," I would do this. And I look for something like that in other people who will do this. I mean, we try to make sure everybody's got to eat and bills to pay and things like that. But I'm really looking for people who are selfless, and there's no ego in it for them. I mean, at the end of all of our classes, me and Tiff's last slide is a big no ego. You know what I'm saying? We have no ego in it. We don't compete. You know what I'm saying? When we started even teaching together, we were like, okay, everybody's kind of doing all this other stuff. What in the industry is not being done that we can help? How can I funnel people to Adam Winch? You know what I'm saying? How can we all, how can the tide rise all of our boats? How can we all do this together? There's never a reason for us to be arguing and fighting over students or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? We need to be boosting each other up, helping each other out. When I see those attributes in the student, those are the people that I want to bring on with us. Will do it.
There's 320 something, 30 something million Americans here in the US, right? To me, I agree with you that the fighting that happens sometimes in between instructors is a worthless endeavor. We have a million different people to reach. And what I heard you just say, if I could nutshell it, was you're on a mission to reach as many people as possible. And it sounds like if they're the right kind of people, they'll usually find somebody like you or others like us, you and us, who are trying to help them grow. And it just sounds to me like you're on a mission to help as many people as possible. With your experience and background and what you've done in Range Master with Citizen Safety Academy and others, it sounds like you have a lot of tools to help people. So hopefully that will be able to accomplish your mission that you're obviously on.
I hope so. And like I said, I love doing stuff like this and working together with guys like, you, Adam, and Laura. I like I said, I could do this all day long. I love doing it. I would do this for absolutely nothing. And Adam, when we met each other, you get that vibe. You know what I'm saying? You pick that vibe, like, I'm like, this dude is cool. You know what I'm saying? And he's somebody I don't and we get out there, and I'm just being honest. Some of the guys, you see some prima donnas out there, and you get some guys who, it's gone to their heads a little bit. I want to make sure that never happens to me. So if you guys ever see me acting like that, pull me aside and go, "Hey, Aqil, what happened?" You know what I'm saying? Because we stay humble, and we remember that the people are coming to us for life-saving, life-changing information. What we are doing is way too important. Way too.
So for those of you who are listening to this, I mean, a little bit of bro love here. As I spent some time with Auk, and as I've watched him quietly from a distance, kind of fangirling over the guy for a while, he's a guy I'd go through the door with. If you know what I mean, that means a lot, right? If you're in the military, he's a guy I'd want in my foxhole every day, right? So if you get the chance to train with Auk, you should take the chance.
Feelings deeply mutual, brother. And I have to say the exact same to my people about you. I really try. People come to me all the time. Where do you go? Like I said, I position myself at the door trying to funnel people into you guys, to the good people in this industry who are really trying to make life changes in people. And that's why I love listening to John Farnham so much. He's in his evangelist stage now, and and he's reminding us, man, that we are this is the good work. You know what I'm saying, of life-saving, teaching people how to save their lives, how to have a better life, how to, enjoy their lives, how to keep tight with their loved ones. And all it takes is for you, and we've all done it, lost somebody to, violence or something like that. And it's heartbreaking, and so anything that we can do to put our finger in the dike of that kind of thing is well worth it.
All right. Well, let's we only have a couple of questions on the Q&A, which is surprising.
Awesome.
So I'm going to start with Troy's question. Troy wants to know, what is your everyday carry? First aid, knife, flashlight? Do you carry those things or not?
I do. Right now, I carry a Glock 45 appendix. What is? I think it's this year. I think it's Dark Star Gear holster. I'm trying that M&P aluminum thing, that metal, but right now I got to run that for a while before I pick it up. I do carry a tourniquet. I try to hide. I try to look as low profile as I can. I believe in my mantra is low profile, high performance. And so
I love that.
you don't have to go ahead and what do you do? Trademark it or whatever.
Trademark it. Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
well, anyway, no, but I carry a tourniquet hidden on me somewhere. I carry a knife. I don't have a dedicated meat knife, just a regular folder. My box cutting knife doubles as a defensive knife if I need it, and I do carry an extra mag. And a flashlight. I do carry that, but like I said, I don't like any. I try to hide that stuff as much as I can, because when I'm around students and stuff, I want to look like everybody else.
So that's what you meant when you were talking about you may dress differently for the newer students so that you don't look like Mr. Tactical. Is that what you're talking
No, I
about?
try. I think that the most tactical thing you can do is not look tactical. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
be vague. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, but no tactics is any advantage you can give yourself. And I think it's best if nobody has any idea. Like I said, I didn't know you carried a gun. That's the highest compliment.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's see what else we have here. Oh, Troy just popped up another one here. I'm going to wait for yours at the end, Adam, because I know the answer and it's kind of funny. But Troy has another question here. Thoughts on the gray man concept to avoid being a victim? If you carry yourself alertly and confidently, does that identify you as a threat to the bad guy?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing that you can do thing that's going to increase your personal safety and security more than anything is what we are situational awareness. Know who's around you and what they're doing, see it coming so you can get out of there. You know what I'm saying? That's the biggest thing. Like I said, that's why I love that story about Gabe White.
Like Gabe.
Saw it coming,
Yeah.
he took off running. You know what I'm saying? If you can do that. But my experience, and I've had a lot of it, as a matter of fact, I got family members who are career criminals, is they know, what they can pick. And if you are alert and you see them first and you don't hold the gaze long enough to challenge, but you hold the gaze long enough to say, I see you, that's usually enough. And as long as you position yourself in a way that, you can get out of there, because egress is always always be your first option. I think that's always your best thing to do.
That's good.
So, but I still like looking, if I want it to be a situation where if a gun comes off of me, if it has to, then I'm completely resetting somebody's order loop, because it looked like, that's not where I expected to come from, not from that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think whenever we were talking the other day, that was more the approach I was taking behind, not wanting to look like a gun person. I don't look like a gun person anyway, which is great.
And it's great. I love gun people who don't look like gun people.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Clint wants to know, I already have some instructor certifications. I haven't taken any Rangemaster courses yet. Which Rangemaster courses would you recommend taking prior to taking a Rangemaster instructor course?
Combative pistol. Tom's combative pistol. He teaches it once a year down in Florida, I think, because that's where he lives. Catch his or catch mine. Why? First of all, that'll expose you to his TTPs, his tactics, techniques, and procedures. That'll expose you to his pace. Tom, if anybody's taking a Rangemaster course, they know there's a certain pace that goes along with it. Tom does not believe in wasting time. And the cool thing about the class is almost like you're taking the class that the instructor development course teaches you to teach to some extent. So like when people come to me and go, hey, I want to take the NRA instructor course, but I don't want to take the basic pistol course. I'm like, why would you not want to take the course that you're going to be teaching? Not all of the stuff is done the same. So, there's more than one right way to do this. Come see how Tom is doing it. Come see how the NRA is doing it. Take the class, and then you can take the class to teach you how to teach the class. So,
right.
So my advice is the Rangemaster combative pistol course. If you're interested in Rangemaster, I would start there.
Okay, awesome. And there's one last question. I left it for the end because I know the answer, but it's from Adam. There's a beautiful baby grand piano in the background. Do you play the piano? If so, we found musicians tend to be excellent shooters. Do you find crossover skills for shooter musicians?
Most definitely. I don't play the piano though. I don't
Well,
play
and the
the piano.
joke is, I know that's a superimposed background,
Yeah,
Adam. Did you
that's a
know that?
background. And I
I
tried to
think he
take it
knew
down. I
that.
don't even know how. It popped up on its own. I'm like, well, that's a nice house. I wish my house looked like that. You know what I'm saying? But that's not even my house. Yes.
That's awesome.
That's
I
awesome.
love
But
it.
but the cool thing is no, I don't play the piano. I played a little saxophone back in high school, and I don't know if that gave me any finger dexterity, but I didn't do it long enough for it to matter. So
Adam's laughing in the background. I can see it. That's hilarious. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up for the night. We just hit the hour mark. So, Aqil, I'm so happy that you spent your time with us tonight. And I appreciate your wisdom and your heart tonight. Really good dude. Really glad that I was able to spend some time with you. I hope we'll get to see you again sometime.
likewise, it was a pleasure and an honor being here. And like I said, thanks, Adam. I know he's off camera, but thanks for having me. I really appreciate you guys selecting me. And if there's anything I can do for you, please feel free.
Absolutely. And I'm going to take you off the screen, but please stay in the green room and I'll be there in just a minute.
Will do.
Okay. All right. All right, guys. So next week we get to interview AJ Zito. April 26th, AJ Zito, Practical Performance. He will be on. AJ is the founder, gunsmith, lead instructor for Practical Performance. He's a former member of the U.S. Army, certified protection specialist and personal security detail instructor, and formerly the formerly the primary and lead firearms instructor for multiple companies. His focus after leaving the security and protection world has been on the concealed / covert carrying and deployment of firearms. He is a U.S. PSA master in the single stack division, as well as a multi-division master in IDPA. He also holds several expert and master ratings in multiple firearms disciplines, including pistol, carbine, and precision rifle. In 2017, he completed a full-time 3-year gunsmithing education in general to advanced gunsmithing, custom competition, carry, and guild quality firearms. AJ brings a vast knowledge of ballistics, instruction, competition, and real-world employment of firearms to the table. Wow, that was a mouthful. So we're excited to have AJ Zito on next week. And hey, guys, if you enjoy these lives and you get value out of them, please go to defenders-live.com. There you can find out how you can support Defenders USA. You can see past episodes and keep up to date on all things Defenders Live by subscribing to the email list. So we hope to see you next week. Tune in on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Until then,